I don't get it. How can they be here? My plan was foolproof.
Really, Bardock? Was it?
Yes! Of course it is.
Come on, man. We're talking about Vegeta here. Ask Canon Goku about how stubborn he is. What's up, everybody? StevDeS here, and welcome to another edition of Dragon Ball Days. Eventually, I'll get like a banner there. That'd be cool. If y'all know anybody that does good banner art, let me know in the comments below. However, for this video, it's time to continue the story of Daddy Bardock, who went back to try to get his son Kakarot from the clutches of Eoth. Upon leaving his son on the planet to be raised by Grandpa Gohan and the events of Dragon Ball continuing relatively normally, he returned to where Planet Vegeta was, only to find it being a bunch of space rocks and rubble. After that, he rejoined with the Cooler Corps, specifically in the Saiyan unit, where he got to reunite with his son Raditz, and hatch a plan so that he and his son could go to Earth and be away from everything Lord Cooler was doing. That's right, it's not the Frieza forces, it's the Cooler Corps. This is an extension of the timeline that you all voted for, where Cooler saw the need in Saiyans and saw that, okay, they're pretty brutish, but they're making money, and they're good at their job. Let's just keep them alive. From that, we got this timeline, where Bardock and Raditz and Grandpa Gohan are able to see Goku and Chi-Chi become engaged on the floor of the World Martial Arts Tournament. Not only that, but Bardock gets to be Grandpa Bardock! That's never happened before. Given that Bardock and Raditz are in the scenario now, a few things are in fact going to change, and there's a lot to go through, so let's get started. There's quite a few things that goes on here. After the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, Raditz and Bardock went to live with Chi-Chi. And then, oh yes, we have Raditz securing himself as the title holder of the World Martial Arts Tournament for years to come, because he is a cheater, he's still, kind of underhanded, and he can completely mess up these. He is making the money as Earth Champion, okay, so there's that. Oh, here we go. Gohan gets a bit of grade 8 training, which is really nice. That's actually quite the interesting little development, considering the Gohan with the tail, they really didn't know how to approach that other than keep him out of the moon. But with two more responsible Saiyans, they're able to have Gohan train in the grade 8 form and help get a hold of it, so that at night, on those nights, he just kind of goes out and sleeps all day. I didn't know really where to go with that. And Bardock and Goku open up the farm business that we see in Super a lot sooner, because Bardock was getting bored of just training. He wanted to do more. So not only do they have the farming, but they're also able to make money off of fish, which makes Chi-Chi happy. However, before all that, we will be looking at the Dead Zone movie. Yes, okay, I know I did the Dead Zone movie on the last one when it came down to yes, that one, Schmidt. I know I did the Dead Zone movie in the beginning of that, but there's a reason for this. It's going to be quick, just hang in there. So the demons assail Chi-Chi's house while Bardock and Bardock and Kakarot are fishing. Naturally, Raditz hears the commotion outside and witnesses the Ox King take a dive. And then he yells at the two to stay away from his sister and nephew. It is so odd saying that, because Raditz being dead is usually a normal thing. Raditz kills them all. His power level is well over 2,000 at this point, so I think it's safe to say that the Spice Boys of that generation don't last. Later on that night, the Son family is having dinner, and someone kills Garlic Jr. because Garlic Jr. wants the Dragon Ball, and he knows his minions are dead. Go ahead and vote. I mean, this is just going to be a fun poll as to why the Garlic Jr. Saga doesn't exist. Is it Bardock's fault or is it Raditz's fault? Because one of those two is going to kill off Garlic Jr. From there, we have to think about the Raditz Saga. Raditz is on Earth. So, the Cooler Corps don't know about Dragon Balls. So, there's no Saiyan Saga. As a matter of fact, there's no Namek Saga either. The only reason the Namek Saga happened is because Frieza heard from the Scouters about the Dragon Balls and, thought Namek was closer. Cooler doesn't get that information in this. So let's go to the beginning of the Piccolo Jr Saga. That's right, Z's going to be opening with Piccolo as the main antagonist. Also, there is something I wanted to bring up regarding Gohan's name. I think it would still be Gohan, considering the child is the one that chose the name. He giggled at the name Gohan, not Goku, whenever Goku was mentioned. So, I don't see any reason that Gohan's name would be Goku in this case. I think it should retain itself as Gohan. The main difference in this scene is that Grandpa Gohan's there, so yay! He's a great Grandpa Gohan to Gohan now. This is an honor. However, we're gonna go on to Kame House, where Kakarot, Gohan, and Raditz are all together to visit Kame House. Bardock decided to sit this one out. They are assailed by Piccolo, and Piccolo takes Gohan, challenging Goku to a match for his son. Naturally, Raditz is excited about this, because this is a weakling that feels about the same as Kakarot does. Kakarot's a little stronger from what he can sense, because his sense isn't 100%, but he does see that this Namekian would be a good challenge. The battle goes off in the wasteland that it normally did in the Raditz Saga, but it's gonna be Kakarot versus Piccolo. Bardock later arrives on the scene because he senses power levels going. A destructive wave here, a Kamehameha here. He knows that a battle is coming, or rather, a battle is actually happening. Bardock lands next to Raditz and tells him exactly what's going on.
Well, Father, it seems Kakarot has made himself a rival since that last tournament that he took part in.
But Kakarot's gonna wipe the floor with him, Raditz. It's only a matter of time.
Bardock is interested to see that the Namekian is in fact holding himself against a Saiyan, which is pretty astounding. Eventually, Piccolo is on the back foot. Goku has had Bardock and Raditz to train with, so naturally Goku, having much more potential than, let's say, Raditz, he's able to catch up and close the gap a lot quicker. Goku's functioning at about 1200 as a power level at this point. Keep in mind, they don't have planets with altered gravity. They don't have Cybermen to fight. They just have the basic Earth way of training. So, while this training would be more rigorous against the Saiyan family, it would still come up a little short as far as power levels are concerned. However, Piccolo's on the back foot, and he decides to start charging his special beam cannon. But he needs to charge it in a way that Kakarot doesn't find out about him. Piccolo blasts the ground around him, making a smoke screen in order to hide really quick. He's able to move around and keep on his toes so that Kakarot is thinking about where he is and trying to pinpoint his location, all the while charging a special beam cannon in his hand. Eventually, he's ready to unleash it and fires it at Kakarot. Raditz and Bardock aren't saying anything because Kakarot should have this. And sure enough, he does. He sees the beam and has just enough time to get out of the way. I say just enough time like that because Kakarot is able to move, but he still takes a good amount of the blow around his side, like just under his armpit.
It's a good thing you missed all of my vital organs.
All of them?
I see the Namekian made the mistake twice. He should have gotten closer to his opponent.
That may be true, Raditz, but I think I see some potential in him.
After Kakarot hands him his green butt on a platter, Bardock tells him to just leave the Namekian alone. Raditz is urging that he finishes off the Namekian. You know, something along the lines of, how dare he take up
arms against the Saiyans because we're a proud warrior race, blah, 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 blah.
But Bardock has other plans for the Namekian, as Raditz takes Kakarot to go get patched up with a senzu bean. Bardock helps Piccolo to his feet and tells him not to try anything funny, because if Kakarot can do that, Bardock wouldn't even need one of his hands to take out the Namekian. Instead, he proposes that the Namekian is far stronger than he gives himself credit for. There's clearly something there that he hasn't seen on regular Namekians throughout the galaxy. So, perhaps he could be a useful rival to Kakarot. Kakarot is still quite far away from him and his son Raditz, but Piccolo's about on par. Given that Piccolo hasn't trained with the Saiyans, he's still about 800 points lower than Kakarot is, but with enough training with the Saiyans, that could be fixed. Piccolo accepts this, as long as he doesn't have to do anything mushy or anything with Kakarot's family. He's still Kakarot's rival at the end of the day. Meanwhile, on Cooler Planet 52 pickup, Vegeta and Nappa are being called to Cooler's quarters. For you see, it's not like the Cooler Corps has done nothing over the course of these 6 or 7 years. The Cooler Corps has been trying to find Bardock because he kind of betrayed the Corps. He needs to make him an example.
Bardock alive? Forgive me, my lord, but that makes no sense. We scoured that entire planet.
Nappa's right. They couldn't be alive. We found their armor in shreds. Clearly the wildlife, or whatever the planet's civilians were. They were clearly the end of those two.
Keep in mind, Cooler's in his first form for this.
But you see, Prince, it's not all that simple. My scouts and hackers have found data that a ship carrying 2 humanoid life forms had left shortly after the hangar was blown to pieces. Nothing but fire and corpses. I wonder who could have done that.
Bardock is more troublesome than he's worth. So where did the coward leave to?
They left for some planet outside my reach. They call it Earth around that star system. I'm sending you and Nappa to retrieve him. And Raditz, if you can.
Dead or alive, sir?
If you don't kill them, then bring them back to me. I'll kill them myself.
Back on planet Earth, Raditz has won his 5th Budokai Tenkaichi tournament. What is that translated to? On the way home with the prize money in his bank account, he notices Bardock heading for Capsule Corp and intercepts him. Bardock is going to get brand new armor from Bulma, because Bulma's good at that. In the lobby while waiting, 2 Saiyan ships land in the city. This is not good.
You sense that too, right, Father?
How can this be? We covered our tracks! Damn it. Bulma! I need to use the phone!
He calls home, tells Chi-Chi to put Kakarot on the line immediately. And Chi-Chi does, just for Kakarot to get yelled at by his dad that he needs to get Piccolo and he needs to come to West City immediately. Naturally, this is where Gohan starts getting his more rebellious phase and wants to go with his dad to whatever it is, but Chi-Chi's kind of that person. Not to mention, Gohan hasn't been under training yet, so he is left out of this battle. This is a battle between Vegeta and Nappa versus Bardock, Kakarot, Piccolo, and Raditz. I put them in alphabetical order by accident. Bardock and Raditz are there immediately, so they meet the 2 Saiyans immediately, before they start, blowing people up and killing people, and kind of destroying the city, kind of like Nappa did in the original.
So the coward comes out to defend these whelps.
This planet has no place for the Cooler Corps. Why are you here?
Isn't it obvious, old man?
Yeah, Lord Cooler figured you out. Now we're here to bring you in.
You won't get the chance, Baldy!
Raditz, no!
Raditz charges in and gets knocked aside by the brutish Saiyan. As they start their fight, Vegeta and Bardock start theirs. And Bardock is trying to keep it in the air so that nobody gets hurt. Unfortunately, Vegeta's got other plans. He does let a few blasts go awry, and Bardock naturally wastes his power to defend the Earth. However, in the middle of the brawl, Kakarot intercepts and realizes that Raditz is kind of beat up by the Bald Saiyan. Piccolo and Kakarot do arrive on the scene here and let them know that, if all these people weren't around, we could probably fight at a much better power, go all out. Have fun with this. Vegeta is very interested at this proposal. Bardock takes this opportunity and tells them to follow him. Bardock takes the battle away from the city as Raditz staggers to get up. He didn't think Nappa would have gotten as powerful.
He's far stronger than I thought.
Kakarot and I can handle him.
I wasn't talking about Nappa.
Catch up when you can, Raditz. Kakarot, let's go.
Right. The battle rages on at the location it happened in the Raditz Saga, with Bardock and Vegeta elsewhere fighting each other, and Piccolo and Kakarot squaring off against Nappa. Eventually, Piccolo gets the idea for a special beam cannon, but in order to take down a target like Nappa, he's gonna need a little bit of time to charge it up. However, unlike the Raditz Saga, Piccolo doesn't need as long as 5 minutes in order to charge it. Maybe 1 whole minute will be enough. Kakarot holds Nappa off as much as he can, but eventually he sees a blast that there's no way he's able to stop, the Bomber DX. Why does Nappa change his target? Well, he reads the almost 20,000 power level special beam cannon that is probably for him, so he needs to stop that from happening immediately. The blast connects, and through the smoke, a ki blast fires and destroys Nappa's scouter. Piccolo is still standing and still charging the special beam cannon behind Raditz. Raditz, in the last second, was able to make it and cover Piccolo, knowing this is probably the best way to kill Nappa.
It'll take more than that to defeat the world martial arts champion.
At that moment, Kakarot jumps high. Kakarot uses the solar flare and signals to Piccolo.
Alright, special beam cannon!
Nappa is killed, and Raditz is very weak on the ground. Kakarot finds some sort of cover to lean Raditz on. We'll come back for you, Raditz. We gotta help Dad. Raditz weakly holds his hand out and then just passes out. He's done all he could for this battle. In the middle of their fight, Bardock blasts the scouter off of Vegeta's face, and Vegeta just glares at him for that.
So that's how you want to play, huh? Fine.
Vegeta then disappears in a display of amazing speed and reappears right behind Bardock, his hand on his tail. Vegeta rends Bardock's tail from his body, and he now has a plan.
It's time to split and get mixed!
No, not a Powerball!
On their way, Kakarot and Piccolo see the shining light overhead, and sure enough, Vegeta transforms. They stop seeing the Great Ape, but then they sense another power level. It's Raditz. Weakly, he's able to see the Powerball in the distance, and he transforms as well. Of course, it doesn't take long for Vegeta to handle Raditz and lose his tail too. The Z fighters are now on the back foot. Without a giant fighter, this giant ape might kill them, so Piccolo thinks fast and grows to the size of an Ozaru. Piccolo is outmatched, however, this plan involves Kakarot taking out Vegeta's tail while Piccolo can distract him. Vegeta's a little smarter than that, and as Kakarot tries to blast at the tail, he doesn't know what the Destructo Disc is. Well, he does, but he's never trained on how to use it. Kakarot is swatted aside, and this doesn't look good for the Z fighters. Shortly after, Kakarot and Piccolo are beaten to relatively near-death proportions. That's when a blast comes out of nowhere and destroys the Powerball. It's Bardock. He's weak, but he was strong enough to be able to dissipate the Powerball with a blast of his own. Vegeta shrinks, but the damage is already done. Vegeta beats up Bardock brutally and picks him up by the front of his armor, glaring at him.
All this could have been avoided, old man. Burn in hell.
He blasts a hole in Bardock's chest, and tearingly, Kakarot loses his father. Rain falls around the field, signaling the death of a proud warrior who stood for his family first. Weakly, with his last gasping breath, he reaches out to Kakarot and effectively dies in front of everyone. Witnessing his father take his final breath, a father who, against all odds, went through space to come be with his son, to come be with his family, to train with him, Bardock was an inspiration. He was everything Kakarot has strived for, to be a strong warrior, a warrior of the Saiyan race, and now he's been taken from him by this man who claims to know more. Lightning begins to strike around the field as an anger far beyond anything Kakarot's felt before in his childhood awakens this primal fury inside of him. Vegeta notices this. He notices this anger coursing through his veins. Of course, he doesn't know how to sense power levels, but Piccolo and Raditz, who are barely conscious at this point, see the power coming out of Kakarot, and this is unlike anything they've ever seen before.
What's the matter, Kakarot? Afraid to lose your father? Well, by the time I'm done with this planet, I'll be taking far more than his life.
Shaking and sputtering in anger, Kakarot can barely hold the power awakened inside of him as his hair flashes yellow, his eyes fading to white and then coming back in different intervals. This rage is unlike anything he's ever seen before, and Vegeta is actually shocked to see this. Finally, after a monstrous roar, his black hair turns gold, his eyes turn blue, and Kakarot becomes the legendary Super Saiyan. And all of this anger is pointed at Vegeta. He charges up an angry Kamehameha, and before Vegeta can get away, he's blasted into ashes. Kakarot smashes the ground around him in anger, crying out his frustration. Raditz and Piccolo know to leave him alone for right now, as he needs to mourn and get a little control over this power. As soon as they're able, they take Kakarot home, take the body of Bardock to be properly buried, or rather preserved for right now, because they know they can revive Bardock. He hasn't died yet. Things aren't over for the father, but in time, things will change. So what do you think? Do you think this timeline took a big enough turn for you? Or do you think that maybe there's way more down the timeline? Perhaps there's a different future Trunks saga. Trunks wasn't born, Vegeta was killed. Not to mention, at this point, Bulma and Yamcha's relationship would be going full swing. They probably should have a child by now. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. For more what-ifs in the realm of video gaming and Dragon Ball alike, such as if the dragons were swapped and Porunga was Earth's dragon, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. I seriously teared up writing Bardock's death. That was... wow.